السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى أئمة المعصومين ولعنة الدعمة على أعدائهم أجمعين. أما بعد، عباد الله، أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله فإن خير الزاد التقوى. My dear brothers, my elders, I invite you and myself toward the taqwa, toward the righteousness, toward the piety, toward the pathway that can save you in this world, that can save you in the hereafter from the wrath of Allah, and that will guarantee the paradise, the bounties of the paradise, the blessings of the Almighty God in the hereafter. Indeed, this is something that had been advised by all the prophets, by all the sages, by all the saints, scholars, whoever came on the face of earth. So that must be the most valuable thing, that must be the most important thing after having faith. So I advise myself to live a life with the taqwa and with the conviction and the faith. We do talk about the social issues, we do talk about our day-to-day problems. But it's very important that sometime we do come back again to the basics of religion and try to know what is the religion itself. Because ultimately it's that mindset which is going to control each and everything, which is going to control your actions, which is going to control your lifestyle. So if you have strong foundation in the religion, if you don't know religion with the logic, and that can appreciate your mind, that can appreciate the minds of other people, and something that can inspire you, only then you will have a strong conviction, and only the strong conviction will bear the fruit of action, and only right action will bear the fruit of true ethics. So let's go to Ameer al-Momineen and ask him, Ya Ameer al-Momineen, what is religion? What is Deen? How do you define religion? Ameer al-Momineen was asked this question one time, and he replied, Al-Imanu ala arba'i da'ain. Iman bar char paye istawar ast. The structure of faith is supported by 4 pillars. There are 4 pillars. If you look at a building or one house, most of the time it would be having 4 pillars. Now, when you are looking at the religion, even religion has 4 pillars. If you remove any pillar, the religion won't be there anymore. If you want to have a strong foundation, a strong belief, strong conviction, then these are the 4 pillars. Al-sabr wal-yakin wal-adl wal-jihad. And the 4 pillars by which this deen, by this faith is supported, first of all, it's sabr. So that is to say the endurance, and then yaqeen, having conviction, strong faith. And the 3rd pillar is al-adl, having justice, equity. And the 4th pillar is al-jihad. Now, Imam Ameer al-Momineen extended further. What do I mean by sabr? What do I mean by yaqeen? That is to say conviction. And what does he mean by adl? What does he mean by jihad? He extended further, and this I will be discussing in the both sermons of Jum'ah. So first of all, he goes on to sabr. فَالصَّبْرُ مِنْهَا عَلَىٰ أَرْبَعِ شُعَبٍ. That sabr needs bar chahar paye qarar dar. Just like religion is supported by 4 pillars, even sabr has 4 dimensions. When you are acting out accordingly and you are applying those principles, those 4 dimensions in your life, then you are having sabr. And the importance of sabr is that this is the culmination. This is the culmination of action. This is the culmination of faith, the ultimate point. Look at the surah Wal Asr. Wal Asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bil sabr. Everyone is in loss. Allah is making a vow that everyone is lost except those Walas innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu, except those who believe, wa amilu salihat, who do the good action, and then enjoin others toward the good action, and ultimately do sabr over it. They are patient over it. For example, if there is a scholar and he is trying to invite the people to the true religion, and if they are not accepting it, if they are not listening to him, at that time he needs to show patience. He needs to show the endurance. Similarly, if there is a head of the family and if he is trying to invite his family members, kids, wife, or the wife is inviting the husband towards the religion, but he's not listening to it, then at that time you have to show the endurance, you have to show the patience. That is the right moment. This is where you will be judged whether you have a strong faith in the religion or not. So that is the ultimate point, that is the culminating point of religion. That is the testifying, that is the final test, whether you truly believe in the religion. Prophet Noah was preaching his community for over more than 1,000 years. He had a life of 2,500 years, and Quran says he was preaching for over 950 years. But how many of them were Muslims? From the tradition, we know only 9 to 10 people were Muslims among the whole community. So you have to show the endurance, you have to show the patience. Even if you look at the life of the leaders, whoever came up with any revolution, even they had a long span. People take time to believe whether what you are saying, you truly believe in it or not, whether it works or not. So give them time. Having patience, endurance is very important. So فَالصَّبْرَ مِنْهَا عَلَىٰ أَرْبَعِ شُعَبٍ. That sabr has 4 dimensions. صبر نیز بر 4 پایه قرار دارد. اول شوق، حراس، زهد و انتظار. Endurance is composed of 4 attributes. First of all, eagerness. So what do we mean by eagerness? Ameer al-Momineen explains it here. فَمَنْ أَشْتَاقَ إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ صَلَا عَنِ الشَّهْوَاتِ. آن کس که مشتاق بهشت است دل از شهوات گرداند. Right, you have to be eager. Eager in what terms? Ameer al-Momineen says, so whoever is eager for the paradise will ignore the temptation, will ignore the immediate temptation. Many of the sins that we commit in life, many of the mistakes that we do make in our life, it is because of the temptation. For example, if a student is sitting down and he wants to study, but there is a temptation next to him, that's the television, that is to say the mobile phone or anything else. Those temptations will make him do a mistake. What is that? He will stop studying. Even in our daily life, many of the failures that we come across, they are because of the immediate temptation. And one of the problems with those things which are productive, which ultimately bring something to us, they take time, they need patience. How? For example, if you want to become, for example, a doctor, you have to study for a long time. You have to invest a long span of your life, only then you become a doctor. But if you want to do anything else, which are called temptations, shahawat, they will bring you an immediate satisfaction, but in the long run, they will bring you a loss. They won't benefit you in any way. So that's the difference between the productive things and those things which are not in your benefit. And we have even some scholars from the West have written that book, that if you are trying to decide whether this is productive or not, productive things are mostly time taking, they need patience. There won't be immediate result. But if you want to go after shahwat, they will have immediate result. They will give you an immediate satisfaction, but after that you will be left with nothing. There is a saying by Imam Sajjad al-Islam where he says that nafs, that your own self, that the self which takes you towards sin, is like a barking dog who keeps on barking on you until you commit the sin. The moment you commit it, it leaves away. It keeps on barking so that you commit a mistake. But the moment you commit a mistake, it just leaves away right there, and you are left with the regret and nothing else. So the regret of committing mistake, the regret of sins is longer, is more painful than the pain that you take in doing a good action. So Ameer al-Momineen says, فَمَنْ اشْتَاقَ إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ صَلَاءً الشَّهْوَاتِ Whoever is eager for paradise, whoever is eager for success, for a better result, will avoid the temptation. That applies. Apply it at a wider scale. Apply it in your life. What you are doing in your day-to-day life. You have to avoid temptation in order to be successful, in order to achieve something. And the best thing that you can achieve is the paradise of Allah. A paradise which is governed by you, which is a place of kun fayakun. Whatever you want, you will be given. It's a place of kun fayakun, but it depends what is your mental capacity. What can you ask? It's like you have been given the authority to ask anything. Now it depends on you. It depends on your mental capacity. It depends on your intellectual development. What is the level of your intellectual development? You will be rewarded accordingly. There's a lot of saying by the Aimma that on the day of judgment, people would be rewarded according to their intellectual capacity. This is because what you are asking for. There is no shortage of anything when it comes to God. It only depends on you what you are asking for. So فَمَنْ اشْتَاقَ إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ صَلَاءً الشَّهْوَاتِ He will stay away from the temptation. So first thing is, in the sabr is eagerness. And the second thing is haras, that is to say fear. وَمَنْ أَشْفَقَ مِنَ النَّارِ اجْتَنَبَ الْمُحَرَّمَاتِ آن که در ترس از آتش است از محرمات دوری کرد. Whoever fears the fire of hell, whoever fears the destruction, whoever fears a failure, what would he do? He will abstain from the sins. He will abstain from the temptation. So sins, when it comes to, if we define a mistake, in terms of religion it becomes a sin. If we define a mistake in terms of our day-to-day life, so the same thing that was sin in the religion is not a mistake. That's the only difference. Because it is bringing you towards the hell, and if there is anything that you are committing a mistake in your day-to-day life, and you are not paying attention what you need to do, that is a sin of this world. Although it will not bring you any loss in the hereafter, but this might bring you a loss in this world. So if you follow the temptation, they will bring you to destruction. Maybe destruction in this world, or maybe destruction in the hereafter. So whoever fears destruction, whoever fears the fire of hell, they will stay away from the temptation. If they stay away from the temptation, they will stay away from the sins as well. Because sins in themselves have nothing productive in them. They don't have benefit at all. They only satisfy your immediate desires. That's it. Otherwise, you will see that all the sins, count all the sins that religion defines as sin, define as lying, backbiting, hitting someone, shahwat, lust, whatever it is. They are just satisfying your immediate desires and nothing else. You clearly know that they are not bringing you any benefit. So they are just temptation. This is how flimsy they are. The third thing to have the endurance is, Ameer al-Momineen says, وَمَنْ إِرْتَقَبَ الْمَوْتِ صَارَ إِلَى الْخَيْرَاتِ And whoever آن کسی که مرگ را انتظار میکشد در نیکی ها شتاب میکند. Third thing is to anticipate. And what do we mean by anticipate? Whoever anticipates death will hasten towards the good deed. If you clearly know, if you always remember every night when you sleep, and you remember, okay, I'm gonna die, obviously, certainly, and you remember your death, certainly you will try to do good in your life. And if you forget that you are going to die, ultimately you might go on to committing the sins. You might go on to committing crimes against the humanity, crimes against the people. But if you are certain and if you are sure that you are going to die one day, you won't do that. So remembering the death, whoever anticipates death, he will hasten towards the good deeds. And the fourth thing that is necessary for the sabr is, and whoever, Ameer al-Momineen says, obviously the third thing that I missed was zuhd. So staying away from, for example, if you know something that is bringing you a loss, that will lead you toward the direction, destruction, you will stay away from it. So you need four things for the sabr. Religion is based on four things. That is to say, first of all, sabr, then it's yaqeen, then it's adl, then jihad. And for sabr, you need four things. First of all, you need the shauq, you need the eagerness that you want to get a reward. And the second thing, you want to save yourself from the destruction. And the third thing is staying away from the temptation. And the fourth thing is that you be ready for the death. Remember your death. If you have these four attributes, then you are having sabr. Coming to the second aspect of the iman, Ameer al-Momineen says if you want to have strong foundation in the religion, the second thing you need to have is yaqeen. وَيَقِين بَرْجَهَا شُعْبِيَاتٍ. Conviction also has four aspects. The first of all, Allah tabsiratil fitna, barbinoye zir khane. Well, so you have to have a deep thinking process. Think about what is going on in your life. And the second thing is وَتَعَوُّلِ الْحِكْمَةِ, and try to understand the things. Try to develop a strong knowledge about the affairs of life. وَمَوْعِزَةِ الْعِبْرَةِ. And the third thing is take lesson. Take lesson from the life of others. And last thing is وَسُنَّةِ الْأَوَّلِينَ, especially the life of those who left this world before me. So coming to the first point, that is to say, having a deep thinking, Ameer al-Momineen says, وَمَنْ تَبَيَّنَتْ لَهُ الْحِكْمَةِ عَرَّفَ الْإِبْرَةِ. Whoever develops a deep thinking process, whoever is acquainted with various branches of knowledge, will take lesson from the life. Okay, sometime when we say what is faith, some people would say, the atheists especially would say, it's a blind belief. If you don't know something, just believe in it. Well, that's not the reality. Faith is more about stepping into the unknown. Future is just unknown. The life of action, the world of action is a life of belief. Lot of things that we do in our day-to-day life, we are not sure, we don't have knowledge. When I say knowledge, knowledge means 100% conviction that whether it's going to work out or not. You only do an action because of a belief. You do a lot of action. The majority of action that you are doing in your life that are because of belief. You don't know exactly. You can't go to a doctor. He advises you, okay, take this medicine. Are you 100% sure that it will work out? No. But you believe in it. People are following a certain pathway. You are going to a building, you are going to an exhibition. They are following a certain pathway. Do you know exactly, 100%? Are you sure 100% that this is going to lead you toward your destination? You don't. You don't know that. But only in the belief that because people are following that pathway to reach their destination, you just follow them. In majority of action, we don't know the reason. We don't know the logic behind why we are doing it. We are doing it just because we are following others. And again, because we don't know the future. We don't know the future. You cannot step into the future. That's just not possible. So stepping into the unknown, stepping into the future with some principle, that is faith. That is faith. If you don't know something, have some principle. At least follow some principle. You cannot bring an action. You cannot do an action in a doubtful situation. So you need faith. No action is possible without faith. No action, take any action. You will have, because you will not have 100% knowledge. You won't have surety that you are going to achieve it. But only in a belief, only just anticipation. Okay, this worked for him, this might work for me as well. So that's belief, that's nothing else. All action that you are doing in your life, that's it, that is belief. So in the world of action, we need a belief. But when it comes to knowledge, we need the doubt. When it comes to gaining knowledge, we need the doubt. We don't need just to follow it. When we are seeking the knowledge, that's a different dimension, that's a different error, that's a different word. But when it comes, you can't do the word of action, belief. So belief is very necessary. You can't do any action, take any action, you can't do it. Because you won't be 100% sure. Take any action, because it's future. You can never know that it's going to work out 100%. So you need faith for the life, for the word of action. Right. So whoever gets fully acquainted with various branches of knowledge will take lesson from the life. If you're taking lesson from the life, what would happen? وَمَنْ عَرَّفَ الْإِبْرَ كَأَنَّمَا قَانَ فِي الْأَوَّلِينَ. And whoever takes lesson from the life, whoever takes lesson from the life of those who came before him, what would happen? That he would study the causes of rise and fall of civilization. He would study the causes of fall and rise of different nations, of different countries. The nation, the nation that we see today, it is not for the first time. We had many nations, we had many countries, we had many states, we had many kingdoms who were progressing. But ultimately there came a time when they fell down. So there is a rise, there is a period of rise, and there is a period of fall. Look at them. What did they do? What were their mistakes that brought them to this end? And then look at the current nations. Look at the current kingdoms and states. If that something happened to the generation before us, same thing is going to happen to them as well. There is no exception. History is repeating itself. And if some person took a certain path, if Pharaoh took a certain path and it led him to a certain end, same is going to happen to us. So have developed deep thinking and then take lesson from the life of others, take lesson from the life of the earlier civilizations, earlier generations. And when you take a lesson from the rise and fall of the civilization, rise and fall of the people and the nation, you will also bring it into your own life. As I told you, you cannot step into the future. That's just not possible. You can only look into the past and then derive a lesson, and live a life of it. That's the only possibility. So if you look into the life of other generations which passed before us and take lesson from it, ultimately you are going to have some principles in your life and you will spend a life with the faith. So these are the first two dimensions that you need. First of all, you need the sabr. Another thing is that you need the conviction to have a strong foundation in the religion. I'll continue with the other two pillars of the religion in the next sermon. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen. Summa salatu ala Aliyyin Ameer al-Mumineen. ثم صلاة على سيدة النساء العالمين ثم صلاة على الحسن والحسين وعلي بن الحسين محمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة بن الحسن القائم المهدي صلوات الله عليه أجمعين ولعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين. أما بعد، عباد الله، أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله فإن خير الزاد التقوى. My dear brothers and elders, I invite you and myself towards the taqwa, towards the piety, towards the righteousness. Extending further on what are the four pillars of the religion, we talked about the first pillar is having endurance, and the second one is having conviction. And the third thing that Ameer Momineen says that if you want to have a strong foundation in the religion, which is ultimately going to govern your whole life, how are you going to spend your life, is adl. Adl needs bar chahar paye karara, so adl minha ala arba'i shu'ab. Just like sabr has four dimensions, just like conviction, that is to say yaqeen has four dimensions, even adl has four dimensions. What are those four dimensions? Justice also has four aspects. First of all, profoundness of knowledge. First of all, depth of understanding. Second thing is profoundness of the knowledge. Third thing is the fairness of judgment. And fourth thing is dareness of the mind. Well, Ameer Momineen then goes on to explaining it, what do he mean exactly by this. فَمَنْ فَحِمَ عَلِمَ غَوْرَ الْإِلْمِ. Because whoever tries his best to understand a problem will have to study it. So if you are trying to develop the depth of understanding, you will have to study it. There is no other option. You cannot just sit idle and you cannot just sit back, okay? So somebody will come and tell you, no, you will have to study it. You will have to take the responsibility. If you want to understand things, if you want to delve into ignorance, if you want to spend a life in the ignorance without knowledge, do it. And sometimes people say, okay, don't seek too much knowledge because it's problematic. No, exactly, that's not. The problem of ignorance is far, far greater than you can ever think of. And it will be revealed on the day of judgment, clearly. People think that if you know the less, that's better. Because if you have more knowledge, then it will bring more responsibility. But you are missing out a lot because of lack of knowledge. Do you adopt a similar attitude to this world? If you are in a field, for example, if you are like economist, right? Would you say, okay, have less knowledge so I will come across less problems? No. Because the problems of ignorance is the destruction that is brought down by the ignorance is far, far greater than the responsibility that comes because of knowledge. That is far, far more painful. That is far, far more painful than the pain of responsibility, than the pain of taking the responsibility. So Ameer Momineen says, whoever tries his best to understand a problem will have to study it. وَمَنْ عَلِمَ غَوْرَ الْإِلْمِ صَدَرَ عَنْ شَرَائِعِ الْحُكْمِ. And whoever has the practice of studying a subject he is to deal with will develop a clear mind and will always come to correct decisions. And the thing that Ameer Momineen is mentioning it, if you go on to study something and then practice it, you will ultimately get to know the reason, the logic behind the commandments of Allah, Shara'i al-Hukam, behind the Sharia. Only if you study it. If you don't study it, obviously you are not going to know it at all. But if you study it, if you try your best, and if you try to develop the depth of understanding, and then you go for the profoundness of knowledge, then you are going to know the logic, then you are going to understand the reason. Why is it like that? Why should I follow the religion? Why should I follow the Prophet? Why should I take lesson from the past generation? Why should I do that? If you start studying it and practicing what you know, then ultimately you are going to reach a stage of the profoundness of knowledge. And you have reached, if you have reached the profoundness of knowledge, the third thing that is make correct decision. Only then you will make the correct decision. In ignorance, you cannot make the correct decision. They will always be, you will never be sure. There won't be any surety. But if you have the depth of knowledge, at least there is a greater chance that you would be successful, that the decision that you are making, that will be correct. At least they are based on some reason. At least they are based on some logic. وَمَنْ حَلِمَ لَمْ يَفَرَّدْ فِي أَمْرِهِ وَعَاشَ النَّاسَ حَمِيدًا. And whoever tries to achieve all this, and the same applies to Allah as well. Whoever tries to achieve all this will have to develop ample patience and forbearance. And whoever does this has done justice to the cause of religion and has led a life of repute and fame. If you are studying something, if you are putting all your efforts, if you are after the depth of understanding, if you are after the profoundness of the knowledge, and you are trying to seek the right decision, and you are trying to seek the right path, and if you still fail in it, people will still respect you. Same applies to Allah Almighty God. If you try your best, if you are intellectually honest, if you try your best, and if you still make an error, God will respect that. He will reward you for your effort. So now, what is better? Ignorance or forbearance, endurance, and patience in seeking knowledge? Because at least you are sure that you are going to get something. Otherwise, you are not. If you do not try, if you do not study it, you are not going to get anything. You are not going to achieve the right result. At the same time, you won't have any reward before the God, and you won't have any excuse before the God as well. You won't have excuse before anyone. Same applies to this work. If you try, for example, if you try something, and if you try to get to know the law, and the judge knows it, the court knows it, he will still give you some concession because at least he tried. At least he did his best. But if you haven't done anything, then you don't have any excuse at all. So at least either make the correct decision or at least have an excuse, a reasonable, a logical, an acceptable excuse. And the logical and acceptable excuse that you can acquire is seeking knowledge. Try to find the true path. Try to find the right path. If you do it, at least you will have an excuse. And you will be respected by the people as well, and you will be respected by the Prophet, you will be respected by Allah as well. And the last thing that is necessary for having a strong foundation in the religion is wal jihad. Wal jihad minha ala arba'i shu'ab. Even jihad, even striving in the pathway of Allah has 4 dimensions. First of all, persuade people to be obedient to Allah. Al-amru bil-ma'ruf. Forbid them, prohibit them from sin and vice. And third thing is as-sidq fil mawatin. And to struggle sincerely and firmly on all occasion to detest the vicious wa sharon al-fasiqeen. And enmity towards the wrongdoers. Now he explains what do I mean by enmity. Whether enmity is just the hatred that I carry inside my heart, or it is something else. Ameer Momineen explains it. فَمَنْ أَمَرَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ شَدَّ ظُهُورَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Whoever persuades people to obey the orders of Allah provides strength to the believers. This is how you strengthen the believers. This is how you strengthen the Ameer al-Momineen. This is how you strengthen Aimma and the prophets and even the religion of God. Call people toward the right thing. Invite them towards Amr. Invite them to do Amr bil Ma'ruf. Invite them toward the right thing. It is not that go on to fighting someone. No, just do this. That's enough. And that's especially very relevant in today's world. If you're inviting people toward the right path, and if you're telling them the right things, and if you are removing their doubts, if you're trying that, that is the best thing that you can do to favor the Momineen, that you can do to favor Aimma, that you can do to favor the Prophet, that you can do to favor the religion of God. Invite people, enjoin them toward the good deed. And second thing, وَمَنْ نَحَا عَنَ الْمُنْكَرِ أَرْغَمَ أَنُوفَ الْخَافِرِينَ. And whoever dissuades them from vices and sins humiliates the unbelievers. Humiliation is not about cursing, okay, lanat bar tu, lanat bar shama. It is something else. Just stop people from doing vices and sins. That is the biggest humiliation of the unbeliever. That is the biggest humiliation of the non-believers. That is the greatest humiliation of wrongdoers. Just stop people from doing vices and sins. There is no enmity towards them. Like it's not something personal. It is because they are inviting people toward the vices. Now stop people from doing vices and sins, and you are humiliating them. You are literally stopping them. It's not something like, it's not about expression. It's not the physical. It's about the action. This is how you humiliate the non-believers and the wrongdoers. And he goes on to say, وَمَنْ صَدَكَ فِي الْمَوَاتِنْ قَضَامَ عَلَيْهَا. And who, the fourth thing is, whoever struggles on all occasion discharges all his obligations. Well, if you are striving, if you are struggling, if you are putting your efforts on all your occasion, that is the maximum that you can do. We cannot expect anything else from you. All you can do is whatever is in your capacity. Whatever is in your capacity. And I always sometimes quote that tradition that one companion of the Prophet came to the Prophet of Islam sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is very beautiful. He says that, Ya Rasulullah, whenever I wake up, I first of all come to you, I visit you, I want to see you, because I cannot spend the whole day without seeing you. But sometimes I wonder, on the day of judgment, your status in the Jannah will be much higher than mine. I won't be able to see you. I won't be able to live close to you. And then the ayah was revealed and the Prophet told him, no, if you just love me, and if you keep on striving on my path, you will have the status, you will be in my neighborhood in the Jannah. Well, the maximum, if we try our best, what is within our capacity, intellectual capacity, mental capacity, physical capacity, if we invest our all energy in what we can do, we can never go closer to the Prophet in action, in terms of belief, in terms of conviction, but at least we can have the neighborhood of the Prophet. We can have a similar status, a closer status to the Prophet. It doesn't matter who you are. For example, if I have a weak intellectual capacity, but I'm still striving, if I'm doing my best, I might have a better status than those who seem to be having a better understanding of religion in this world. Because they have not invested all their energy. They haven't used all their energy. God is judging you on basis of the faculties, on basis of things that He has given you. He's not judging me on the basis of something that He has given you, or judging you on the basis of something that He hasn't given to me. He is judging you on the basis of what you have been provided with, what mental capacity you have been provided with, what economic capacity you have, what is your status in the society, what you can do. He's judging you according to that. He's judging you what you have on the basis of what you got from Him, what you got, and where you are living. And if you try to invest all those energies, what you have got, you can have similar status like that of the Prophet. Which is not possible. We cannot imagine. If we go for the quantity rather than the quality, then it's not possible. But God is looking at the quality. He's unconcerned about the quantity. It doesn't matter how many actions you are doing. And I'll end the sermon with that. Ameer al-Momineen says in the Nahj al-Balagh that someone who is knowledgeable, even if he is sleeping, his sleep is better than the worship of those who don't have knowledge, who don't have understanding of the religion. So it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. One Allahu Akbar in the battle of Uhud is better than the worship of all the universe. One Allahu Akbar. Can you just imagine? That when Ameer al-Momineen went on to kill Amr bin Abd Wud, that was just one Allahu Akbar. That was just one strike. That was better than the worship of this whole universe. Look at and that's the reason in one of his books, Imam Khomeini says that even if the whole earth, all the prophets, everyone gets together except the Prophet of Islam, then they cannot say Allahu Akbar with the same conviction, with the same depth that Ameer al-Momineen carries. It's a depth of knowledge, it's a depth of understanding. And Ameer al-Momineen, one of his sayings says that I looked into the life of the past generation so profoundly, in such a depth, that until I reached a stage where I was like one of those. I was a person who had lived his life in the past generations. When you develop such profoundness of knowledge, such depth of understanding, then you are going to have the strong conviction, and then you can say, even if you remove all the curtain in front of my eyes, if you remove everything, this will not increase my conviction. My conviction, my faith my yaqeen has already reached the ultimate point. It is already at the culmination point. On the day of judgment, ثُمَّ تُرَدُّونَ إِلَىٰ عَالِمِ الْغَيْبِ وَالشَّهَادَةِ, many people would get to know a lot of things that they don't know today, but Ameer al-Momineen saying even that is not going to increase my conviction. My status, the level of conviction is going to remain same for me. So if you develop these are four things: sabr, yaqeen, adl, and the fourth thing is jihad. If you're doing these four things, then you can have a strong foundation in the religion. And if you have a strong foundation, you will have a strong mindset. And it's the mindset that controls everything, that governs everything. I was discussing this with something like the difference between a pain and suffering is your mindset. If you take responsibility for something, that is pain. If you don't take responsibility, that's suffering. If you take responsibility for something, that is stress and trial, which can elevate your status. And if you don't take the responsibility, that is the azab of that is the azab of Allah. So it's about your mindset, how you are looking at the things. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا